Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another Getting Started guide for EVE Echoes. This time around I wanted to have a look at the basics of navigating through space. If you are enjoying this content, please do let me know by liking the video, commenting down below, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Even with the beta ended, I will still be putting up EVE Echoes content whenever and wherever I can, and I will be keeping an eye on proceedings ready for the game to go into live, when of course I will kick things up a notch and be right back punching out EVE Echoes content constantly. Of course, if you do enjoy my content as well, let me know. Come and find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Discord. Anywhere you see on screen now, you can come and find me, and I'd love to chat with you about the various different games on this channel. Anyway, so here I am out in my slasher, just exploring low security space, nullsec in fact. I'm down here in X06LH, which is a minus 0.7 area of space, and I was just looking at some of the planets. Now before we jump in, I just want to showcase something that I found that was really quite cool, and that's if you go into planetary production and have a look at the different planets in the sector you're currently in. So I'm currently outside X06LH7. I can sit here and tap I and get some really cool information about this. That this planet orbits at a radius of 5.52 astronomical units from its star, which is 5.52 times as far as we are on Earth from our star, the Sun. The escape velocity required to escape its gravity is 4.56 kilometers a second. You've got a full mass of the planet, its average temperature in Kelvin, the density of the planet, its orbital period is about a year and a half of us, and actually nearly coming close towards 2 years. The radius of the planet, its eccentricity, the average air pressure, and surface gravity. I just find that really, really interesting. You can get this for pretty much every planet on here, which I love. And I love the fact that there's a temperate planet here, and it's 1.21 AU, which actually is in the Goldilocks region for most stars. Anyway, enough of that. I just found that was a really cool little thing to have a look at, and through the beta I've done that a couple of times now when I find planets. I just love how this one looks. But here I am exploring in space. I'm out in Innsmother, which is one of the sectors right off in nullsec, and I just wanted to discuss with you guys how to read the star map and how to navigate your way around. Now, one thing you'll notice is that ultimately, yes, when you're out in space, you can actually double tap anywhere in space, and you will align to that point and start moving in that direction. It's one of those things that this sounds really silly, and like, when on earth would you ever use manual movement? But genuinely, there are plenty of times when you would. If you've watched my Worm video, for example, or my Vexor video, and that's kind of what I do a lot of the time. You send out your drones, or you like get away from people when you're firing long-range missiles, if you've been following the people using caracals. And you can do that just by manually moving around here. And obviously a warp drive, or afterburner in this case, allows you to just navigate between those areas that little bit faster. And if you're locked onto something, like say I've got something behind me that I'm firing missiles at, me moving around in space like this means that I'm going to be moving further away from those things. Nothing in space here really to showcase that. I might jump to an asteroid field later on, but ultimately I just wanted to show that yes, if you tap on something, just a blank area of space, you do align to it and start moving towards that point. Now anyway, what I really wanted to discuss was rather the star map of New Eden. Now if I open this up here to the main star map, this is New Eden, and if we can zoom in, we can move around this and get a basic idea of where everything is. Now before we get too far into this, I'm going to put a little hand-drawn map on screen now that I lifted from a friend of mine sent this to me on Discord, so I took a screenshot and I've put it on screen now. This just showcases kind of who owns what space. Just the different empires you can see around there. Obviously the different pirate fleets and things as well are around here. Now if I come off this and back onto the standard New Eden map, as an example, obviously the green areas are your high security areas. High Matar and Metropolis tends to be Min Matar, right down at like Domain in the bottom left. The Galactic Southwest, that's Amar. Whereas Caldari and Galente space, Caldari is like the Citadel and the Forge, and Verge Vendor and Essence, etc., that is all Galente space. So if you come out a little bit further, things like the Outer Ring, that's where Ore are ultimately based. You've got the Gurustes Pirates up in Pure Blind and Fade, and I think Venal is their home sort of area. When you come down southeast to the Galactic Southeast, you've got Scalding Pass and Curse, which are Angel Cartel headquarters. On the edge there of Minmatar space, and down in the left here you've got like Delve and Quarius. I think Delve if I recall, is Sanchez Legion area, somewhere around there. It might be Stain, I'm not entirely certain. It's somewhere in that area. And you can see I am all the way out here in Innsmother. Now, if I want to navigate around, there's a couple of different ways I can do this. If you tap on Innsmother, you can go to region map, and this is the region of Innsmother. Now, Innsmother itself is quite a confusing one, so I'm not going to go into too much information here. Instead, I'm going to look at this as a case of getting to different areas. So imagine I want to get back to Maspa. Of course, there are a couple of different ways I can do this. If I hit search down here, I can type in M-A-S-P-A-H, type in Maspa, hit search, and that'll bring here. Now, obviously, I can go to set as destination, and that will now mean I've got an autopilot destination all the way back to Maspa. And you can see there how that's going to take me on the galactic route. Now, that means that Maspa is in Derelict. Now, if I tap on Derelict and go to region map, this is our region. You can see that when I follow this route, I'm going to come in down here via Mamuna, then up through Anna, past Anaris, and into Mossas, which are just different regions of space, different systems, I suppose you can look at that as. Now, as we look at these, obviously Maspa is this final destination up here. Maspa is in the Mossas region of space, in the Mossas region of Derelict, should I say. And you can kind of see the other planets, the other systems in that area. So you've got Cancanerdia, Juddy, Ibaria, I think that's Shala, and Zamalu and Maspa are all part of Mossas. Now, of course, as you come out of other places, you've seen me before in Berta. Berta is part of the Subby region of space. It's actually the gateway between Subby and Mossas. You can kind of get an idea there of how all of this links together. It is worth looking, though, at Maspa as an example. Even though Maspa looks really close to Zaid, there is no connecting dot here. There is nowhere to get between them. If you want to get to Zaid from Maspa, you're going to have to go the long way round, and that can literally be sometimes quite a lot further than you think it would be. So for here from Maspa, for example, I can go to Ukpavem. Ukpavem would take me to Uzia, Uzia would take me to Nurbi, and then Nurbi would take me to Zaid. That's because this is a 2D representation of 3D space. You can kind of think of this as Zaid being right off in the distance, as far away as you can imagine, and Maspa is actually right up close to how you're looking at the map. You're kind of looking down on it, and you see past Maspa to Zaid in the distance there. And that's just a basic idea of there. Now, if I come out of all of this and we look instead back at the system that I'm in here, sorry, come a little bit too far ahead there, this is the system I'm currently drifting through. Now, that doesn't really mean much, and when you don't have names, it can get a little bit more confusing using codes, but this is what nullsec is like. Nullsec is more codes than it is names. Obviously, around Maspa, you've got like Ukpavem and Juddy and Berta, all these different kinds of names of different areas, and of course, if we go into down into like Domain, into the region map of Domain, and into Throne Worlds. One of the Throne Worlds is, of course, Amar, which you know, obviously, if you're part of the Amarian Empire, that kind of thing, it's all there. You can have a look around all of these different areas of New Eden and get an idea of where everything is. Now, I've got to remember, I think it's in the Citadel. If we have a look, somewhere near the Caldari border zone. Trying to remember where Jita hides. It's very close to the edge of Caldari space. I don't remember, but let's have a look. Just to showcase again, we can go Jita, search for Jita, and that'll tell us there. There's the solar system, which we can come back to in a moment. So it's in Kimatoro, which is part of the Forge. There we are, so you can come right back out and you can see there that there's the Forge, and that's where Jita is in that system right there. That's all very useful for navigating around that, but what about finding out what is actually in your region? So obviously I'm in this particular region of Innsmother. I'm drifting around. What on earth am I going to do? I don't necessarily want to go back to Maspa yet, but I do need to stock up on some supplies and have a look around, that kind of thing. I'm scanning out different areas of space. Now, if you want to find a station, there are two ways you can do this. Now, the way I want to discuss is by looking on the star map, but the easiest way when you're in an area to find your local station is to go to Market. If you go to Market, at the bottom when this all loads, you will get your nearest ITC, and I completely forget what ITC is again. Interstellar Trading Corporation, Interstellar Trading something or other, I can't remember what the C stands for now. I'm terrible, but it's your nearby ITC. It's where you're going to be getting, like any orders will come in to that point. And again, you can tap on that, you can set that as destination, and it'll tell you how far away that is. And that's 4 jumps if I open up this thing here, we can tap on the central bit of the autopilot menu, and it'll tell you I'm here in Innsmother, and then this is the route that I'm going to take to get to CJ6MT, and that's where that station is going to be. We can close that down. Of course, if I tap on the autopilot, that is going to take me through. When you're using your autopilot as well, you can go between prefer shorter, prefer safer, and prefer less safe. Now, prefer safer obviously takes you through as many high security systems as possible, tries to keep you in 0.5 to 1.0 where it can, but there are obviously times when it's going to have to drop you down to 0.4 or even lower. If I'm jumping to certain, obviously jumping around here, preferring safer isn't going to help me none. I'm still going to be going around in nullsec space. People have asked, though, why on earth would you have prefer less safe? Now, ultimately, in EVE Online, you may notice, if you've watched my PvP video, that when I start attacking someone, the game actually turns around and says, oh, that's naughty, here's a penalty to your personal security rating. Now, when your security rating gets low enough, Concord actually treat you as a pirate. There have been times in EVE Echoes where, in EVE Online, where me as a Rifter pilot, I've gone so far into low personal security, I can't go to the big stations anymore. If I go into high security space, I get blasted by Concord, so I have to go for the less safe routes. There are other reasons for that as well. I mean, you might be just scouting around, and while you're going between, like for example, sometimes I'll go via from Maspa to Jita, and I will take the less safe route so that I go to more low security systems. When I'm in low security systems, I look down here in the bottom left to see that number in local. If I'm in a 0.4 or higher system and that number's sort of 3 or higher, I'll consider actually going into the overview, looking at the local signals, and jumping around some of those asteroid belts looking for miners to blow up just for the hell of it, because that's what I do. It's good practice for me. Now, of course, why would you even come out into low security space? Well, that's for your different resources, as you saw there. We are going to come to that in just a moment, but I did mention there was another way to find a space station, and that's ultimately by coming into the solar system view itself. Now here, if you look at this particular view, as we see, in the centre you've got the different radials, 5, 10, 15, 20 and 25. Those are your different astronomical units. That's your astronomical unit range from the central star. Every system, obviously, is based around a star, so here, this star in the centre is X06LH, and all of the planets are then named after it. So in Maspa, the Maspa system is named after the star Maspa, and each planet is then Maspa 1, Maspa 2, Maspa 3, Maspa 4, Maspa 5, Maspa 6, yada yada yada, all the way up as you get further and further from the star. The closest one to the star would be Maspa 1, then Maspa 2 is second closest, so on. So under our system, under these rules, our solar system that we live in would ultimately be Sol, or Sun, and then Mercury would instead be Sun 1, Venus would be Sun 2, and Earth would be Sun 3. So if we had a space station orbiting our moon, that station would be Sun 3, Moon 1, and then whatever it is, like Sun 3, Moon 1, International Space Station or whatever, ISS. And you can kind of have a look at this and get a vague idea of what's going on here. Obviously all of these different dots are the different planets, so you can see here that is X06LH7, that's the one I'm orbiting around at just under 5 astronomical units. And here we have a gate, that F38X2 is a gate to that particular sector. There's another gate down here, a gate to N7BIY, which is actually the one we want to have a look at. So I'm going to go into this one. You can see here there is no station here, it's just gates, just planets, and you can see the orbits of those planets and the orbits of those gates as they move around that star. But there are 3 gates and a whole ton of planets, but no stations. So if we go back and we jump into one of these systems, let's have a look at N7 as a system. We are going to... You can't actually do it there. Cool, no worries. We're going to come back to the main menu here, to the main region area. N7BIY, go to Solar System, and let's have a look at this one. And again, you can see all of these planets orbiting the star there of N7BIY. And the gates here, so that's the gate from the sector I'm in, system I'm in, X06LH. But what's this? If I zoom in a little bit more, that's a different icon. What's that? That's a station. that is how to find a nearby station. If you're just sort of scanning through space, like I'm here in Innsmother, but I decide, right, okay, let's have a look. I want to consider going all the way out to Tennel. Where is there a station? I can't just search for a station in Tennel, but I can go solar system. Right, is there a station in this system? Nope, those are all gates. Cool, we'll come out, we'll look at the next one along, solar system. Any stations there? Nope, and you just repeat this system by system. This is very useful if you're looking to set up a corporation and you want to find somewhere, say in low-sec or null-sec, that has a station, that you can then go from there and find like a station to use as your corporation headquarters. So you just kind of look here, and there we are in SEVIQ. There it is, SEVIQ 3, Moon 1, Serpentis Station. I can set that as a destination. I can jump to that if I want to. Obviously, I'm not going to. But I was saying, why on earth would you come all the way out to nullsec anyway? Why would you want your headquarters out here? Well, on screen now, I'm going to put a list of different ores and some other really cool little graphics. You can see here, this shows you where certain ores can be found, where those appear in regards to different security settings, like if you're in high security, low security, null security, and just different ranges. You can get an idea there of all of those. And obviously the lower security you come to as well, the better your combat anomalies. So if I let that fade out and we have a look here in the signal setting of the overview, you'll see here that I've got loads of different angel anomalies. Now, obviously, the higher the number, the more difficult and more lucrative they are. So that Angel Small Anomaly 1 right there, that's a Tier 1 Angel Small Anomaly. Very, very easy. I could probably do that in just this, in this slasher. Angel Small Anomaly 4 is Tier 4. That's a little bit harder. These go all the way up to Angel Anomalies 10 there. The large, I'll explain in a moment, but it's the number that is your difficulty. So like a large anomaly 3 there, and a large anomaly 10. A large anomaly 3 means it's a tier 3 difficulty anomaly, but it's got a lot... when it says anomaly, it's kind of a blip on the scanner. Being a large anomaly means it's a big blip on the scanner, meaning there are a lot of ships there. And I'm going to put some details on screen now regarding what it means, like what the different anomalies all mean, how many ships are in each anomaly, based on its size, small, medium, or large, and also how many waves those guys come in, that kind of thing. That means that a large anomaly 3 is going to have a lot more ships than a small anomaly 3, but they'll be about a similar difficulty in the ships. The ships themselves will be of similar difficulty. This means that a small anomaly 10 is going to be difficult ships, but not many of them, compared to a large anomaly 10, which is going to be a whole ton of very difficult ships. So kind of bear that in mind when looking at your anomalies, and that kind of gives you an idea of what to do and where to go there. Now I'm going to start jumping through to this other system here now. Now of course this means when you're doing all of this looking for corporation space, it gives you an idea of what to be looking for. In addition to obviously all of the different asteroid belts and things like that as well, if you go into planetary production, of course you can see all the different planets in this system and what they have. And as you come down to lower security and into nullsec, you start getting some really rare planets, like here. That first one had some very rare plasmids. Let's have a look instead at N7BIY for its systems, and just have a look through these planets and see what is on offer in some of these. Plasmoids are something that you don't often see in high security. Here we are. Opulent compound. Perfect. Condensates. Perfect. If you need condensates or opulent compound, N7BIY Planet 6 is going to be a really, really useful planet for you. Same if you need fiber composites or coolants or reactive metals, those are N7BIY 7, and then all the way up to lustering alloy here as well. So if you need those materials, that's where you can find them there. Now, the same as we mentioned with the combat anomalies, as I said, I've shown the details on screen now, but let's go and actually prove it. Let's warp into one of these asteroid clusters and have a little look at what exactly is to be found in this particular asteroid cluster. So we're going to warp through. I'm going to switch to nearby. I'm just going to check the asteroids are on for me. No, they're not. I've been out pirating. Let's pull into this asteroid cluster now and see what it is. Asteroid cluster 9 obviously means lots of rare stuff in here. Yeah, okay, there's still in here some Veldspar I saw, Pyroxeris, Dark Ochre, Scordite, but there's also Hedbergite, Crocite, Hemophyte, Spodumane, Bistot, Nice. There's a lot of really quite expensive and rare ores in here. And when I say a lot, there are a lot. I mean, look at how many different asteroids there are. I'm still scrolling. That's a lot of stuff in one system. Now we finally hit the bottom there. Again, brilliant if you're coming out into nullsec. The risks are a lot higher. Obviously, there is every chance you're going to get jumped by someone and blown apart. So I do recommend fleeting up. Go check my video on fleets and that kind of thing. But ultimately, that is why you would come all the way out to nullsec. And it does look pretty as well. I mean, you know, when you're in Minmatar space, you're ultimately inside, like, that big nebula that you see in front there. It's all very red and very bright. In a Mars space, it's all very yellow. Galente space is all very green, and Caldari space is all very blue. As you come out into nullsec, you start seeing all of these little sort of bits. It's very dark, very black. You're outside the main nebulas of all those stars and all those planets that are in there. You're right out in the middle of nowhere. And crikey, look at that belt of asteroids. Literal belt of asteroids around me there. But anyway, I think that really does cover everything that I wanted to talk to you all about in regards to navigating in space. I've shown you how to manually navigate space just by double tapping on the screen, so you can align and move, and then obviously activate micro warp drives or afterburners to zoom in on that particular point quickly. We've talked about how the star map works, what it actually is, what those systems all mean, and we've talked about how to set your autopilot around various different parts of that star system. So for example, again now, I've pretty much done out here because I'm done with this video. I can now open the search function, and it should have under history, there's Jita. Do we have Maspa still? Yep, Maspa Moon 6, set as destination, hit autopilot. That is now me on my way back home to Maspa. Anyway folks, thank you ever so much for watching this video. I do hope you found that useful. Let me know down in the comment section below, and do stick with this channel for Eve Echoes content. Even though the beta's over, as I said, I will keep making it. Anyway, hope this has been helpful for you. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.